Good evening, Viking fans. This is your boy Justin with Purple and Gold for Days, my compatriots, Mike Castellino, Kyla, Rose, and this is the show formerly known as A Day with Mike and Kyla that has been rebranded Skol for Days with Dave, Mike, and Kyla. And boy, do we got a doozy. Far more of a doozy than what that team did for us on the football field. We'll be right back. We're going to break it all down. I'm guessing there'll be a little bit of free therapy for you here, ladies and gentlemen. We will be right back right after this. Alrighty, before we get started, as always, because this is a production of the Purple Code, put us all together, we have to get the sponsor reads right off the bat. Starting off with our main sponsor, and that's Rinaldi's Pizza and Pasta. They are in Woodbury on Wood Lane Drive, right off of the intersection of Valley Creek Road and I-494. And, of course, we also have to give a shout-out to Nautical Bulls. They are located on Hudson Place, right off of I-94 and Woodbury Drive. We thank them kindly for their sponsorships. Mike, Kyla, I don't even know where to begin. Right after the game ended, I did a little quick review on my channel, and I'm still disgusted more than 24 hours later with the absolutely pathetic performance that pretty much everybody outside of Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins gave yesterday. Kyla, I will start with you. Give us your opening rant. I won't even ask you a question. Just say what you want to say to get us started here.
Only this defense of ours, when your quarterback has over 400 throwing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and your star wide receiver breaks the franchise record for yards, only our defense could let us down that badly. And obviously we all know there's a bunch of other issues. The run game stunk, costly turnover, blah, 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 blah. But that was just... And even despite those things, it was still semi-close, till the end. It's just so disappointing. Not totally shocking, though.
Good evening, Daryl. Thanks for joining us. We very much appreciate it. Mike, I know you've got some rants, but give us the appetizer here. So what do you say about that monstrosity yesterday?
Okay, since Kyla went already and attacked the defense, which speaks for really all of us, I'll do it on the play calling end because we know it was that in the defense that cost us. Kevin O'Connell, I've been giving you so much credit this season on your creativity. I want you to immediately rip the running back jump pass out of the playbook as fast as humanly possible. That was the dumbest play call in that spot you could have done. You could have kneeled and it would have been a better play call. I don't know how on earth he thought that was going to work on the road on a hostile environment when you know they're pumped up. 14-7, Justin. That changed the game. And we could talk about the defense, and I get it. The defense was atrocious. You cannot throw away points that close to halftime at the 3-yard line.
We didn't even need to be cute there.
No.
We had opportunities. Oh my goodness.
And I get they have not been running the football well since Darrisaw's been out, and that's why a big reason why we need Darrisaw back immediately. But they missed Garrett Bradbury too. I never thought I'd utter those words, Justin. We missed Garrett Bradbury. But in all seriousness, just let Kirk Cousins win the game for you. This is why we hired you. This is why I was so excited to have Kevin O'Connell. Because he wasn't going to do what Mike Zimmer had done in years past, where he rips the ball out of his Cousins' hands in dumb spots. Well, he did that, and he kept doing it in big spots. The play calling was absolutely atrocious yesterday. And credit to the Lions, they won. But let's not act like we did not find a way to lose that football game with dumb mistakes. It was the reason why we've won a lot of games, because we avoided those mistakes. We did it on Sunday, and that's what cost us.
Well, where to start with this? What's up, Antino? Thanks for joining us. Like, comment, and subscribe. People, like this, share this, tweet this, Instagram it, whatever. Get as many people in here tonight as possible. I'm going to start with this. At no point at any part of what I am about to say tonight, tomorrow, or up until the Vikings play again, am I going to give any pass to Ed Donatel and to any member of that Vikings defense. They are beyond atrocious. It's now been 5 straight weeks where you have given up over 400 yards, and 4 out of those 5 times it's been over 450 yards. This defense stinks. It is trash. And in fact, it is so bad. I just insulted all trash everywhere by telling you that this defense is trash. That's an insult to trash, to put them in the same category as trash. Oscar the Grouch is the only human being, except he's not human, the only entity that has ever walked or been puppeteered around on this planet that enjoys the trash that is the Minnesota Vikings defense.
Having it's getting worse too.
And it's not getting any better. And it isn't like this just popped up out of nowhere. John Madden had a great quote. Winning is a great deodorant because it covers up the stink. Well, guess what? You've lost 2 out of the last 4 games. And let me be clear. We're still 10-3. So it's the sky's not falling.
No.
The season's not over.
No.
But yesterday was about Kevin O'Connell, and the title of my video was He Outsmarted Himself.
Yes.
3 examples. Number 1, you went for it on 4th down after your punter had pinned him inside the 10-yard line. Now, if it was the Lions side of the field on the 42 or whatever, I like that call. I don't mind, in general, aggressiveness, going for it on 4th and short, but you have to know that your defense only can survive and maybe do the bend not break when you're making the other team go 80-some yards. You do not give them that early in the game when you're not desperate, a 42-yard field. And we saw what happened 2 plays later. That's outthinking himself and outsmarting himself, number 1. Mike, you touched on number 2, the goal, the first and goal from the 3 underneath the 2-minute warning where you're only down 7. The only 2 touchdowns the Lions have scored was the aforementioned after 4th down and after the punt return, 1 big play. Outside of that, your defense had been okay. It hadn't been spectacular, but it had been okay. They gave up some yards here and there, but they had not given up any points outside of those 2 big plays. Now, does that mean we can just pretend that those 2 plays didn't happen? No, of course not. But what your defense gave you, they gave you a 3-and-out at the start of the game. They gave up the touchdown. They turned the Lions over on downs and then forced punts. And then they had the missed field goal. They did not need to be put in that position. So you just run your plays. You play your game. It was 1st down. If you score a touchdown there, you're giving the Lions the ball back with time. Run the ball. And if you score on a running play, okay, you scored on a running play. There was no need to do that kind of trickeration. Number 3, I'm sorry. I said it at the time. This is not hindsight. It was a dumb idea to onside kick it where you're just under 3 minutes left. So you still have the 2-minute warning and you have 2 timeouts. You are putting the Detroit Lions 1 first down away from the game, or at minimum within field goal range when you're already down 8. I'm sorry. Now, you guys can disagree with point number 3 if you want because you're both shaking your head, but I'm sorry. Bottom line is, over the course of that game, Kevin O'Connell, I'm sorry, as much as we want to yell at Ed Donatel. And by the way, Ed Donatel is Kevin O'Connell's subordinate. Kevin O'Connell is allowed to go to his defensive coordinator and say, this crap ain't working.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You guys
he did that at the press conference. He did do that at the press conference.
Yeah,
we'll get into that later.
Too late. This is 4 weeks too late for that. But go ahead, Kyla. You start. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean, but which is just kind of what we're kind of getting at, what you just said with, Donatel is a subordinate. But doesn't that go to show you if he's willing to take an onside kick in that scenario? Most coaches are not going to do that. They're going to trust our defense. But at that point of the game, he had no trust in the defense at all, which is pathetic because earlier in the game, he decided to go on it in 4th and 1 and trust our defense in that scenario, which ended up costing us points. But I think right there, it shows you how he literally has 0 trust in the defense at that point to make a stop. So he thought going for an onside kick was pretty much the only chance to give the offense hopefully back the ball. It didn't work, obviously, but I mean, if that right there doesn't tell him holy, we need to make changes because I had to resort to an onside kick. Like what? Like we better see something different next Saturday, because that ain't it. That is not it.
Mike, go ahead. You were shaking your head too.
Yeah, this is the thing. Even if they kicked it deep, Justin, it wasn't going to change anything. This defense is not good enough. And we can get into why it's not good enough and what they could adjust. Because let me make this perfectly clear. I'm by no means Ed Donatel's biggest fan. I think there's issues that is not his fault that we've talked about, how these quote-unquote, he used to use the term sacred cows, these veteran players who are not what they used to be. Let me tell you, people, Eric Kendricks is a shell of himself in pass coverage. He used to be so good. Nothing now. He brings – it's almost a guaranteed completion when they throw at him. You look at so many guys across – Jordan Hicks, he started the year good. He looks old. He looks his age. It's why he was a free agent. He has not been good the last few weeks. And just in general, Harrison Smith, as good as he's been this year, you're relying on him. Patrick, you're relying on a lot of old guys. They need youth in this defense. And it's a big reason why I gave credit to Kwesi last year in the offseason for going almost all defense in the draft because they needed bodies. Now, we can talk about if it worked out or not. I hate judging a draft class off year one. That's just borderline ridiculous to think it's all over after 1 year. Guys take time to adjust to the NFL. But he's got to do it again this year. Let's be real about it. No matter how this season ends, good, bad, or ugly, it's going to have to be almost an all-defensive draft again, aside from one wideout. They have so many deficiencies in this team. And the thing that upsets me most, and where I'm very upset, these guys, I'm talking about Zadarius Smith, Daniel Hunter, they're two of the highest-paid players on the team. And they have been invisible the last few weeks. The last month, they might as well be Casper the Friendly Ghost. It's been disgusting, absolutely disgusting, the amount of money they're making to their performance. And same goes for Harrison Phillips and Delvin Tomlinson. You're making a ton of money, guys. That interior pressure has not been what it was to start the year. The run defense, you can make the debate. It's been better than years past. But still as a whole, for the money they've pumped to this defense over the years, disgusting. I'm absolutely disgusted with these players. And I think they could do some scheme changes. But at the end of the day, I don't think they have a personnel to make this defense that much better. I really don't.
I mean, you could argue that for Z and Hunter, that the scheme, well, Hunter especially, has been working. Like, I'm hoping that Zadarius gets back to his pre-injury self, and I'm hoping that maybe it is just his knee that's still bothering him. But without these two performing, it's rough.
It's what we talked about, right? Like, we knew this defense needed pass rush. This secondary was not going to be able to consistently hold their water. We know that. Even Patrick Peterson, as good as he's been this season, he's not perfect. Okay, he's not a shutdown corner like he once was. He's still very high level. He's had a very good year, but you're asking for too much. And maybe they could play more man. I think we'd all like to see them, actually hit some people with the secondary instead of just letting guys run by. This is the one thing I'll say before I don't go too long here, Justin. The one thing that I give Kevin O'Connell some credit for, and I know you said 4 weeks too late, he takes on responsibility when it needs to be taken on. If there was ever a time to be punched in the mouth by a team that you probably are better than, talent-wise, let's be honest, with respect to Detroit, I think they're a decent team. There's no reason you allow that team to look as good as you did, especially Jared Goff. I mean, my God, he might as well look like Tom Brady yesterday. He had no pressure whatsoever. Got to stand in clean pockets time after time after time. As Kevin O'Connell said, we need to address this, and we're going to look into how to fix this. And I'm not saying they're going to be able to do a ton, because as we've talked about this, the cavalry's not coming.
Right.
But the good thing is they're going to sit down. They're going to, him and Ed probably, and say, okay, we need to get rid of this shell defense. It is not working. We need to limit the snaps we do this. We need to play a little bit more man coverage tight in big situations. We need to blitz a little bit more. I'm not asking for 20 blitzes in the game, but 4 or 5 would be nice. They don't do it enough. Now, they got to pick their spots with it still, because as we talked about, the secondary is not great. the one good thing I'll say, you might as well get these problems out now, because if they're still a problem in the postseason, you can't fix them. It's too little, too late. So we'll see what happens.
Well, to circle back to my rant about a lot of blame is going on Ed Donatel, as well it should. The other thing that I'm going to say about Kevin O'Connell, I understand establishing a run game and maintaining balance, but you ran Dalvin Cook way too much. Way too much. It was not successful. You had 40% of your starting offensive line out due to injuries. The running game was absolutely abysmal yesterday. And once again, when this team gets desperate, they start playing better offensively. Once again, the Vikings do what they always do offensively. It was the second drive of the game because the first one they got stopped on downs, but it was right in response to Detroit scoring their touchdown. They scored a touchdown on a 75-yard drive, 10 plays. Okay, it's now the mid to late first quarter. Next drives for the Vikings. Punt, fumble in the red zone we talked about, end of the half. Get the ball first in the second half, 3 and out. You did not score again till Adam Thielen walks into the end zone with about 2.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Once again, they basically went, 2 quarters and didn't put any points up on the board. Yes, from that point on, there was that touchdown, field goal, and then the KJ touchdown. And then, yes, they had 2 plays with, 17, 18 seconds left. We're not going to count that. To me, you cannot continuously, particularly with the defense that you know you have. It would be different if you had the Zim Reapers. It would be different if this was the Baltimore Ravens defense of 2020. You could get away with only playing offense for 2 quarters. I'm not saying they need to put up 40-some points every game, and I'm not saying they need to score on every drive. But you cannot have pert near 2 quarters a game where you don't do anything of consequence outside of the one drive that ends in a fumble. And if the general response is, well, if they hadn't fumbled, they would have scored. If that's the comeback, is our one drive in the red zone where we fumbled, that only further illustrates the point that this offense does its Houdini act every single week. So I'm also going to throw a little bit more on Kevin O'Connell for I'm not saying he needed to abandon the run, but he needed to not be running Dalvin Cook up the middle when it was completely ineffective. You saw what Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and the rest of the passing game did when you finally got desperate. And no, it wasn't against a prevent defense. It was the entire fourth quarter. So I'm sorry, but reason number one for me, and again, I know it's ridiculous to say that with how awful this defense was yesterday and has been for the last 5 games, but to me, it's Kevin O'Connell. If you're not going to do more about telling Ed Donatel this doesn't work, then you've got to operate your offense as efficiently as humanly possible. Kyla, before we do that, Daryl's point, you just mentioned that on there. What's up, Jason? Thanks for joining us. You guys said it best. We need some big changes next week. Well, next week, the week after that, and next year too.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Jason. Yeah. Kyla, go ahead. You were about to say.
Well, yeah, no, I totally agree with everything. I think other than, the defensive side basically looking like pylons all game, it drove me nuts how, your quarterback is having the best game of his season. You literally have Justin Jefferson on the field. KJ made some receptions, Thielen too, when necessary. It was literally the only thing that was going for you was through the air on offense. And you're right, it was too little, too late. And hell, Kirk could have had like 500 yards. That was it in the first or second quarter? I can't remember, where he bombed it deep and it went right. Was it Thielen's hands or JJ?
Well, it was tipped. At first, I thought
it actually was deflected. It was deflected.
Excellent defensive play, but it's like, damn it, it was just
the TJ Hawkinson drop didn't help either. Although TJ had a pretty
right
good
now, Detroit was stacking the blocks. We were getting Cook averaged like 1.5 yards per game. It was just nightmarish. Like, why did it take so long for them to finally abandon the run? And you're right, you don't need to abandon it all game, but Detroit was so prepared for that. And let's face it, Dalvin Cook is not the same dude he once was either. So expecting him to go out and win you games at this point is just not happening. It's just maddening. And I agree with you, Justin. As much as I'm hating on Donatel and have been super angry at him, The defense does suck no matter what. And you're right. Kevin O'Connell is his boss, so it's his time to be like, yo, like make some changes. And on your side of the ball, stop playing so conservative. Don't play so conservatively against a defense, or Detroit doesn't have a good defense either. So.
They're just as bad as we are.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's half a yard. It's half a yard difference.
It was bad, all of it. Like,
what up, Warlord? I put you up there, but just wanted to say hi. Thanks kindly for joining us. Hit that comment button, hit that like button, share this with your friends and all that good jazz. Listen, it reminds me of one of the greatest sports movies, Disney movies, of Remember the Titans, where you've got the two coaches who are polar opposite. One's offense, one's defense, and they didn't want to be put together, but circumstances put them together. And I remember the first game where Coach Boone said, shape up your defense right after they got scored on. And if they score again, I'm taking over because I'm not going down with this ship with you calling bad defenses. And funny, the next possession, they scored a defensive touchdown and all was well and good. And then if you fast forward to the end of the movie where they're playing in the championship game, they're playing against somebody who actually has a team as good as they were. And at halftime, both offense and defense was just getting their tails handed to them. And the daughter of Yo said, he's got you figured out. He's a 2 moves ahead of both of you. The two of you need to sit down together and figure this out. And at the end of the halftime, they came out and said, all right, these guys are going to play defense both ways and offense, and this is what we're going to do. And they came together and collaborated and said, okay, you need to show me as the offensive coach what I'm missing, and I need to show you as the defensive coach what you're missing. And at the end of it, okay, it's a movie, so of course they came back and won the game. But my point is that Kevin O'Connell, I understand you brought this guy in to run your defense because you're an offensive guy. Thanks, Ben. There you go. Thanks, Ben. Dino, I appreciate you. But jokes aside, the point I'm making here is, okay, if you're going to go this route, then you need to be able to adjust. And you need to be able to adjust not when it's too little too late. And that's the one weakness I have seen thus far. It was too little too late in Philly. It was too little too late against Dallas. And I would have thought you would have learned your lesson that you can't wait that long. I realize Detroit is not Dallas, but still, there is no reason you should have been continuously trying to run your head into a brick wall by sticking to the run game as long as they did. And again, you saw how good Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and TJ was good yesterday too with Thielen and KJ. All 4 of those guys, they were 425 yards passing, and they didn't even try to pass half the time in the first half. Kirk Cousins, 31 for 41 for 425 yards. Let the guy play. You clearly can't run the ball. You clearly can't. You let Jared Goff throw all over you, and you didn't let Kirk try to match it until it was too late. Yes. If anybody out here wants to go at me with Kirk Cousins once again didn't get it done, get out of here. You can miss me with that. Yeah. This is not the time where we say Kirk didn't get it done. Kirk had to overcome his offensive line. He had to overcome lack of running game, and he had to overcome a defense, and he had to overcome a head coach that was outmatched yesterday. That might have been Kirk Cousins' best game. Let's get to some positives here. I think we've ranted on the negatives for a while.
Can I say one other thing just quickly?
Real quick, sure. Yeah.
I get what you were saying about the offense, and I don't think you were necessarily wrong. But we do need to be fair and mention that at 7-7, Vikings are driving. And though he had a pretty good game yesterday, DJ drops that 3rd 9. And I do not want to be this guy. Back in Detroit, man, you got to make a statement, and that's what you're doing. You're shooting us in the foot. That would have been a scoring drive. At the very least, a field goal, and you're up at least a score. They cannot afford to throw points like that away. And it was what I was talking about when we just started today. You can't throw away points and make mistakes. That's why this team was 10-3.
Correct.
Was because they are 10-2 prior to this week. They were so good at avoiding mistakes. Mm-hmm. And yesterday, they did as good of a job at making mistakes, and it was it was backbreaking.
No, I agree. That is one thing that O'Connell has been very, very good at this season, which is we are not going to beat ourselves. If the other team beats us, the other team beats us, but we're not going to beat ourselves. Yesterday they did. Got to get a couple, got to give more shout outs here. Thanks, Pops, for joining us. That's my dad, ladies and gentlemen, but I digress. Mm-hmm. Another great point from Daryl here. Kirk was playing awesome. Listen, there have been games this year. He wasn't all that good against the Jets. They still won. Yesterday.
Or Miami
for that matter. yesterday, in fact, since we're going to get on the Cousins train here, let's just go ahead and get some of the Kirk throws up here. We got this one here, so I'm going to put that up here real quick for us here. Let just take a look at these throws as we discuss this here even further. Yes, he had some protection on some of the passes, but great throw right there to T.J. Hawkinson. Now, on this next one in particular, you got Kirk Cousins stepping up in the pocket and hitting a very tight window there. I believe that was to Jefferson. On this particular play here, decent protection, is able to throw it into it, and that is a tight window throw to Jefferson, one that he doesn't necessarily make last year. Another great tight window throw there as well. Kyla, I will start with this as we let the tape go here, and that was a zinger to Hawkinson here.
I'm so.
Am I crazy to say that this team straight up let Kirk Cousins down yesterday? Am I going?
Yeah, I mean, he's faced so much backlash if he, has a bad game, or, even from Minnesota Viking fans. He gets it from the media, gets it from the own fan base. Whatever he does, it's always could have been done better. He couldn't have done anything more to help us win yesterday. He was excellent throughout the game. And like you just alluded to on one of the plays, like he's being able to step into the pocket and make plays. Like he's fearless out there, and he's been taking a beating week after week. And yeah, like the team fully let he and Justin Jefferson down because Jefferson was a monster. But like you said, all the whole receiving corps played well yesterday. Just completely disappointing, but yeah, definitely like basically wasting Kirk's definitely his best game of the year for sure. One of the best games he's probably ever had for us. And it's too bad too, because he's a Michigan boy. So you know how badly he probably wanted that win too. And he played so well for his friends and family.
Bandino said, yeah, what pocket? No, a couple of those throws there were absolutely ridiculous. He was getting bared down on. He didn't even have the opportunity to step into a couple of them. And by the way, I don't want to hear about how the refs screwed us, and that's why we lost the game.
No.
We did not lose the game because they didn't call that Justin Jefferson play inbounds.
It was bad, but it didn't. That didn't change the game.
He did not go out of bounds, and that ended up costing them a few more seconds, which leads me back to if they had called it a touchdown, maybe they do kick off because they have more time. Doesn't change the fact that we're not going to say that that's the play that cost us the game. So anybody who wants to say that can miss me too there. But Mike. Justin Jefferson, franchise record. You saw a couple of the catches in the Kirk Cousins highlights there. Talk to me. I'm running out of superlatives to talk about this guy, but give me your breakdown of yesterday. And all right, I'll pose it to you this way. There are some that are already saying he's the best wide receiver in Vikings history. I'm not quite ready to go that far.
Relax.
Give us your thoughts on yesterday's performance by single-handedly the best Vikings player on this team right now anyway.
First off, Moss caught way more touchdowns at this point in his career. Let's chill on that. Second off, okay. To Kyla's point about the national media, Skip Bayless, I think that guy is the biggest clown in national sports.
Yes.
I think it's a joke. And I don't know if you saw the clip of him criticizing Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl champion Shannon Sharpe on his playing career. What a bumbling buffoon he is. Shannon Sharpe is a legend and deserved way more respect than that. Shame on you, Skip Bayless, for at all talking about his athletic career when you are a analyst and journalist that has nothing to do with sports.
Correct.
Playing in the game. Of course, he was a basketball writer in Dallas many, many years ago. Anyway, do Kirk Cousins. He said that this was a vintage Kirk Cousins game. To Kyle's point, everyone was going to do this, so it's a vintage Cousins game. It was all stats. He didn't do enough. And I also want to get one other thing off my chest because this line bothers me. Well, Justin Jefferson just carries Kirk Cousins. Who's throwing him the football?
Exactly.
If you put Derek Carr here, we're in pain. Have you watched Derek Carr play? Lost the Rams with Baker Mayfield on 2 days' notice. No, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. And
he's very
yes. Justin Jefferson is fantastic, no doubt. But let's not change the fact here. Yes, the defense let them both down. It was a disgrace. I mean, you're not getting a performance like that again, realistically. They completely lost the plot. They wasted an opportunity to go and beat a really, really good Lions team when it came to momentum. They were playing really well. They had won 3 of the last 4, I believe. Yeah, it's a missed opportunity by the Vikings. But at the end of the day, I hope this teaches O'Connell to sit down with Ed Donato, like we alluded to, and fix this defense to some extent. Because, yes, we could talk about that it's not a good unit. I agree. Too evil to hope. I'm in. No, I'm kidding, obviously. In all seriousness, though.
Thanks for joining, Too Evil.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated.
I had to, Mike.
I agree.
I know you had to.
Brock Purdy, the legend. Hey, he has more wins against Tom Brady than Kirk Cousins, so there's that. But in all seriousness, yeah, this team needs to sit down and fix their defensive issues. Because if this continues, we might win a wild card game.
One and done.
They'll win a game. I truly believe they'll win a game.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
They ain't winning the divisional round. I'll tell you. No, the reason why they will win in the wild card round is because the wild card teams are potentially the Giants, who are no better than us defense or offensively. They stink. So I'll offset it. Washington already beat this season, so I think we could beat them again. Or Seattle, who stink. They're falling off.
You think Geno Smith, the way he's playing right now, can't throw 400 and some yards the way these last four quarterbacks have? Not.
I think Geno Smith is very interception averse. He'll make mistakes. Let me make this clear. The Vikings need to get back to what they were able to do defensively earlier in the season. That's the frustrating part. They were okay against Washington, Miami, Arizona. What happened here? And I don't know if teams fully adjusted. They got to get the ball out quick. We got to fix this now, immediately. If Matt Ryan, Kyla made a really funny tweet today. If Matt Ryan finds his Super Bowl-esque form and throws for 500 yards, shut it down. It's over.
Yes. I agree.
I'm honestly, like I said in my tweet, I am mentally preparing myself for it to go down. It's just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm going to say this right now. These next 2 weeks will prove to me what this team is at their core. If they're mentally strong, they win in one of these games by 10-plus points. Mm-hmm. If they're just mentally weak, they'll continue to barely win these games or lose, and we know it's the beginning and the end. These next 2 weeks against the Colts and Giants will show me if this team has grit. We'll see. This is your moment, Kevin O'Connell, to show us that you're not Mike Zimmer, that you won't just shut down when pressure comes your way, when things get hard. This is your moment. This 2-week stretch will define you for this season if you're going to go anywhere. We'll see what happens.
I'll say this. I agree that they should still be winning the wild card weekend regardless of which wild card team they play.
Yeah.
They should. But if you can look that pathetic against the Detroit Lions, who are one of those teams, despite the fact that one of our compatriots on this site told us we were crazy for saying that the Lions will be a contender for the wild card come the later part of December, which they're going to be. Yeah, what's up, Rap? We love you. Join Rap and Dave tomorrow on this channel, by the way, because I always pimp their show, as well as the rest of them here on the Purple Code, as this is a Purple Code presentation of Skol for Days with Mike, Day, and Kyla. I digress. Okay, but our expectations at the beginning of the year to get to the wild card game and hope we can steal one, those expectations were elevated by not blowing this team up, and they were ultra elevated by the fact that this team started out 10-2. The notion that we're now talking about, well, we should still be able to get to the divisional round, and maybe we can squeak one by. I'm sorry, we're lowering our expectations again.
I agree.
That's one thing that we refuse to do on our show is, hey, these are the expectations you set forth, and these are the expectations you set forth by how well you've been playing. Mm-hmm. Having said all that, did Greg Joseph miss any kicks yesterday, Mike? I don't think so, did he?
Greg Joseph, it's funny. Funny you mentioned that. What a luxury we had a couple weeks ago where we could talk about the kicker. How things have changed, Justin and Kyla, how things have changed. My God, this defense, and this is what's frustrating. They were never great. But we talked about this, Justin.
Right.
What happens when they can't cause turnovers? When they don't make those big clutch plays? Well, we're seeing it, and it's ugly. It's as ugly as it gets, folks. So they got to find a way to be more consistent. We talked about this. We saw this coming, Justin. We said this will not continue to happen. You're not going to be able to cause turnovers every single week.
Right.
You got to find ways to cause stops. And I said this too. This is the thing that absolutely makes you want to rip my hair out about this game. I said Dan Campbell was going to be aggressive. You should have known every fourth down, without hesitation, be worried. Have every single expectation he's going to go for it. And if they punt, great. I'd rather you send nobody. The punt goes out of bounds than getting caught.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did on that 4-7. Again, it was a 7-point game at the time. It changed the game.
Right. That changed the game. Yeah.
It's just they got caught. They got out-coached because of themselves, a lot of it. But it's disgusting.
A fatty iced the game. A fatty
iced
the game on us.
Funny you mention that play.
That's how bad it was. Dan Campbell was like, go for it.
Penny Sewell. It's funny you mentioned that play. I don't know if you've seen it online, Kyla and Justin.
Yeah.
Back to the players not being good enough and this not fully being an Adonato issue. Not saying he's been good by any means. He hasn't. There's other deficiencies of this team. Pappy turns around like this, points at Cameron Bynum. Go and track him. What's Bynum do? He stands there like a statue as Penny Sewell proceeds to be wide open when he should have been pinching down. And there's no chance you're telling me Penny Sewell is containing Cameron Bynum at 300 pounds. No, he's not catching that pass. Newsflash, folks. Heck, it could have been a pick six if he ran the right route. Who's to say? But this is the problem. That's why they drafted Lewis Seen. That's why. Because Bynum is not cutting the mustard. He's been brutal the last few weeks.
So out of position.
Yes,
like most
multiple
of them
times.
All game. It's just like, what? Like, I felt like, are you professionals? Like, what is going on?
The Jameson Williams touchdown was on Bynum. He walked in. It was like the Jamar Chase play last season. He just ran straight.
Here's the thing about Cameron Bynum. I don't remember if I said it on our show, if I said it on one of my shorts, or if I said it with Dave on Tuesdays. Duke Shelley is a really solid number 4 corner, and he's a very good red zone corner.
Yes.
Because when you're in the red zone, you only have 30 yards to defend. When you're at the 50 and you got 60 yards to defend, he's not very good. Cameron Bynum is a good red zone, quote-unquote, safety, where if it's a limited area that he has to cover, it's one thing. Or if he is like the third safety behind a Harrison Smith and behind another guy where he's not expected to be one of the top 2 guys, it's kind of one of those know your role type situations. Yeah, you know what? Duke Shelley at a 4 cornerback, okay, he's all right. Expecting him to be a number 2 cornerback is expecting too much. Cameron Bynum is infuriating because he comes up with a couple of big plays here and there. But the second you start thinking, oh, maybe this guy has got something, you realize that he's a jag. He's just a guy.
Yep.
Let's try to circle back to some positive things here. We only got about 5 to 10 minutes left, which we know how good our clock management can be. It's about as good as Denny Green and Brad Childress, but I digress. I'm going to say it like this. This team is still 10-3.
Yeah.
But when I did the pregame show on my channel with Dave, we were getting into the discussion of whether yesterday was a must-win game. Now, by the purest sense and definition of the word must-win, of course it wasn't a must-win because if you lose that game, you're not out. But I said it was a must-win in the context of, one, Detroit was probably going to be the toughest game left on the schedule when you look at New York and you look at Indianapolis, and who knows what Green Bay and Chicago are going to be down the road. But it also was about, what's that team, Mike, that we've been talking about that I brought up after the Saints game? That San Francisco 49ers team is doing the old thing. Objects in your mirror are closer than they appear.
Yeah.
San Francisco is only 1 game behind us for the 2 seed, and they own the tiebreakers. So we can talk about we still control our own destiny and all that. Part of wanting to win the game yesterday is more so than just clinching the division and getting that monkey off your back, so to speak, was to maintain the margin of error that you have to keep that number 2 seed, and that margin of error is gone. If you had won yesterday, maybe you can rest your guys against. They might have to play it out against Chicago now in order to get the 2 seed.
Well, I need to worry about the Cowboys too.
Well, you only have to worry about one because the Cowboys
East
are going to be a wild card because only one of those East teams can be that.
If it was hockey, we'd be in big trouble. But thankfully, it's not.
Yes, and frankly, that's the way it should be. If a wild card team has a better record than a division winner, they should be seated higher, as far as I'm concerned. But that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, it's not going to. Yeah.
Too evil. Thank you. You got right into what we were saying. They're nipping at our heels. They're nipping at our heels for that number 2 seed. Yep. So now you've got to play it out. You got to play it out against Indianapolis and New York, which you were going to have to do anyway. But then you've got 2 road games late December in Green Bay and Chicago that now, because you didn't win yesterday, unless San Francisco loses a game or two to where we ended up clinching that,
I doubt it.
we're going to have to play that out. We're not going to be able to take Chicago as our bye week there. So that's the other reason I'm still a little irritated, aside from the fact that the defensive effort was garbage, aside from the fact that the offense once again went to sleep for 2 quarters basically. But looking at the positives here, the Vikings still do control their own destiny to get that number 2 seed. If they go 4-0, they win. If they go 3-1, if San Francisco goes 4-0, then they would take the 2 seed. But just looking at the rest of the schedule, again, we just talked about it. We got the Colts this Saturday, so again, one day short of rest, followed by the Giants, Packers, and Bears. Kyla, I'll start with you. Your thoughts, do the Vikings have it in them to win these last 4 games to hold off the 49ers, or do we need to hope for the 49ers to lose a game here?
I think we need to hope for the 49ers to lose. Sorry, I'm trying to. What I want to say is I don't think we're fraudulent, but we are damn lucky to be 10-3. We've won a lot of close games. I'm hoping that finally KOC has got it through his head that there needs to be changes on defense. However, unless I see it, I'm not feeling too positive right now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel we at least win 2 of the games, but I don't think we win the last 4. I definitely think we're going to need some help from the Niners, which I don't expect to get. But even Chicago is not a good team. Green Bay is not a good team. However, they're also divisional opponents.
Right.
And we're on the road, and those games are always tricky. So I don't know. I'm not feeling too optimistic about getting the 2 seed, but I hope I'm surprised.
Mike, before I get your take on it, this is why I love Too Evil.
Yeah,
I see Too Evil in this channel. I see him when I'm with Dave and when I'm with Rap.
Yeah.
Too Evil, you are a treasure. Thank you so much for always joining the chats here.
I wonder if he I wonder if he knows the backstory. Justin, if I say this to Too Evil Hope, not even in a sarcastic manner. If you have Twitter, find a way to go on my spaces. My ad's down below here. It's at Mike Castellino. Come join one of my spaces sometime, and I'll give you the full rundown because it'll take me at least 5 minutes to fully explain why I cannot stand Mike Zimmer. But anyway, as I repeat, it's nothing personal. Everything to the Zimmer family. I'm sorry for everything they've had to go through, just to be clear, so no one thinks I hate the man. It's personally professional.
Right.
Okay, back to the Vikings now. I'm with Kyla. I'm panicking. Who's to say they don't drop 1 game in division? Who's to say? It could easily happen. Soldier Field's been a nightmare for us.
Right.
We never play as good in Soldier Field.
No.
Of course it'd be Justin Fields' defining moment of 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. That'd be right on brand, just to screw us over and put us down to the 3 seed. Look, Brock Purdy has played exceptional. I'll say this. If the Vikings do get the 2 seed because they win out, which is by far going to be no easy task, they better thank the Bears and the Broncos for beating the Niners in weeks 1 and 3. If neither of those things happen, it would be good night, Irene.
Story. Yes.
Be over.
I forgot the Broncos did that. That's
think about that.
Jimmy Garoppolo. That was the vintage Jimmy Garoppolo, Dan Orlovsky impression.
Yeah.
That's
I'm going to say this. The 49ers they're at Seattle, and I believe they're at Seattle on Thursday.
Yes, Thursday. Yep. Yep.
Then they have their mini bye, and then they host the Washington Commanders. Then they've got the Raiders and the Cardinals. Let's just throw the Raiders and the Cardinals games as W's for them because both of those teams are 6 different kinds of dog manure. So realistically, you got to hope that San Francisco splits the next 2 games. And I would think, actually, I like the Commanders more than I like the Seahawks, but I think the Commanders are going to have a tougher time because the Seahawks will get them on a short week.
Yes.
And the Seahawks are playing them in Seattle, whereas Washington's going to San Francisco. I'm sorry, I don't see Taylor Heineke going out and beating San Francisco.
Seattle will be desperate too. They need to start getting on those winning ways.
But having said that, we've been talking all year about a good thing we don't have to go scoreboard watching is the division. I hate scoreboard watching. Just go out there and take care of your own business. I'm going to say it like this. We don't make predictions, but I'm going to say that I think that the Vikings should be in the realm of putting it all together come Saturday. One, I'm going to be in attendance at that game. So they better have a good game, and they better not give up 500 and some yards to the corpse of Matt Ryan. This is not 2016 Matt Ryan that we're facing here. But having said all that, you got to take care of your own business. You can't – first off, we can't let this one loss act like that all of a sudden now we're, an 8-5 team.
Yes.
Because we're not an 8-5 team. We're still 10-3. I don't like this term fraudulent or paper tiger or whatever else you want to use. Are they a fraudulent Super Bowl contender? Maybe.
Probably.
Are they a fraudulent division winner? No, they're not. You don't get to be a division winner, and you can't be labeled as fraudulent when you have pulled. You don't go to Buffalo and beat that team, regardless of how much football luck you had, and be considered a fraudulent division winner. Now, my expectation for this season to be success is they have to get to the NFC Championship game. Otherwise, this season will feel underwhelming, and maybe that's not fair, but what we say on this show is we have expectations. We reject 500 football, and we're not going to just say, oh, well, they got to the wild card round and won, so that's a success. No, they raise the expectations on themselves by how well they perform. I have done a terrible job of keeping up with the chats here. So, Mike brings up a very good question here. Thank you, Michael, for joining us here. Hit like, comment, subscribe to the channels here. The Purple Code backup page on Facebook, Purple and Gold for Days on Twitter. Follow Mike and Kyla on Twitter as well. Realistically, what do you think we can do to improve the defense, Mike? I'll start with you. Okay.
Well, to answer Mike's question, I think really all they can do is play a lot more man. They have no choice. Try to play tight man coverage. Hold on for a few more seconds and see if you can cause more of a pass rush that way. And in big spots, you've got to blitz sometimes. Look, it ain't pretty. You can't blitz 2 times in a game. Right. Blitz 5. Blitz 6 times. Pick your spots with it. Don't do it 4 times in a row because that will end horribly. But
could it be any more horrible than it already is, though? That's
the thing. They've got to get. They've got to try.
Worse. Yeah,
they've got to try. And one other thing I want to add. Why not just throw Brian Asamoah on the field? I'm sorry. Eric Kendricks or Jordan Hicks, give the kid some snaps. Take Hicks out and give Asamoah a few reps in a game. Might as well try to use other players. You drafted him hot in the 3rd round. He has barely touched the field this year. Mm-hmm. Couldn't hurt. He's a better guy in pass coverage than Jordan Hicks. In obvious passing downs, throw him out there. If that's 5 times a game, okay. Then do it 5 times. They need to try something. They can't just keep doing the same old stuff and expecting a different result because it ain't gonna happen.
I'm not totally ready to jump on board of that plan, but I think if I can do the video where I said let's get Jalen Reagor more than 7, 2 snaps a game, I meant to get to the regular bit where we just, I've kind of run out of time here as far as that goes, but yeah, you know what? Jalen Reagor needs more than 2 snaps a game. Yeah, he got 7 yesterday because they were in desperation mode. You can take 5 to 7 away from KJ. You can take 3 to 5 away from Adam Thielen. Let's get Jalen Reagor on the field here. So I get where you're going with that, but I'm not saying that as okay. That's the move that we have to fix this defense.
No,
Kyla, what do you say to this? I mean, do they need to take a game where they just send Zadarius Smith out to try to get him back healthier again? I mean, because again, he's, as Mike said earlier, he and Danielle Hunter have been on milk cartons the last couple of weeks, and it is somewhat noticeable out there. I mean, on one hand, you don't want to sacrifice a game, but on the other hand, maybe short-term pain for a long-term game. What do you think of the idea of, maybe giving Zadarius a week off just to get him healthier?
Like, we're going to the playoffs, obviously. If he is still that banged up, like, he shouldn't be on the field, in my opinion, because he's not doing anything out there. It's not like he's coming back and it's like, oh, thank you for your services. You're killing it out there with your bum knee. Like, he is a phantom. So if he's that hurt where he can't perform, put someone else in.
I'm just going to circle back to Bandino.
Can I throw one other thing in too quick? Just
let me get to Bandino's comment here real quick.
Okay.
There's 0 chance on God's green earth Zimmer would come back to be a defensive coordinator for a team that fired him as head coach. Bandino, sorry, it's not going to.
Could that be a too you with the hope type comment though?
I don't know, possibly. Anyway, go ahead, real quick, Mike, because we got to wrap.
This is the other thing. I'll be 2 seconds. I've noticed this trend, and I just caught on to it. After the game, I realized to myself, we never tip balls. These D linemen. Put your hands up and block a pass, for God's sakes. We never do it.
Yeah.
At all. How many tip passes do we have all year? Maybe like less than 10?
Maybe. Yeah.
It's like, honestly, it's pathetic. Throw your hands up and try to block something. Something. Show some damn heart. It's pathetic.
Before I do the announcements here, let me get back to the sponsors here because, surprise, surprise, we just kind of got on rants and kept going. I want to thank Ronali's Pizza and Pasta. They are located on Wood Lane Drive in Woodbury, right off of I-494 and Valley Creek Road. Mention the purple code at Ronali's. They'll give you a family discount. Pizza's good. Wings are better, but I'm telling you right now, it's that garlic cheese bread. That's my tagline, not because I just was told to say that, but because it's actually the case. Do also want to thank Nautical Bowls in Woodbury as well. They're located on Hudson Place right off of I-94 and Woodbury Drive. Mention the purple code there. They will also give you a family discount. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the Purple Code here on YouTube, to Purple and Gold for Days on YouTube, to Mike and Kyla on Twitter, as well as the Purple Code backup page on Facebook. You probably already heard, but the original is gone and lost forever. Brendino said he was talking to Too Evil, but I digress. So let's wrap it by saying this. I think San Francisco is going to win at least 3 more games. I don't see them losing to both Seattle and Washington. I certainly don't see them losing to Arizona or Las Vegas. So,
and speaking of, Kyler Murray just went down with a non-contact knee injury.
Oh boy,
carted off. So,
oh dear,
he got carted off.
Yeah, non-contact. I just saw.
Sorry to him, but I just wanted fantasy, but I did not want to see it that way. Poor guy, that poor guy. That's brutal.
Obligatory fantasy mention that nobody cares about your fantasy team. And this is part of the reason why we try to get done at quarter after. And somehow, some way, it just never happens, especially after a loss. But Mike, does this team end up with the 2 seed? Yes or no? We'll just leave it at that as our final send out here.
2 seconds. Sorry to Kyler Murray. That is brutal. I hate seeing things. I didn't see that. I hate seeing things like that. Do the Vikings get the 2 seed? I know this is kind of returning to last year's theme of negativity with Kyla and Justin, but no, they're going to blow it.
One loss to the Detroit Lions, and Mike is jumping off the bandwagon. Kyla,
because all they're going to do is lose one more. That's the thing.
Are hot. They're playing way better than we are.
Right.
All we have to do is lose one. That's the problem. If we're tied, we're screwed, and I think we're going to be tied.
We'll see. Having said all that, announcements for the Purple Code channel here. First off, again, thank you everybody for joining us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Go follow on Facebook. Follow on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, MySpace. Okay, I'm just kidding. But jokes aside, regular lineup for the week. My understanding of the situation, although this is not official yet, that SK and Ramp will be doing their pregame show on Friday night, since clearly they're not going to do it Saturday night, being that we have a game on Saturday. And I'm candidly not sure who's doing the pregame on Saturday. But the regular shows during the week up through Thursday will be at their normally scheduled times. Same bad time, same bad place. Mike, do we get the win Sunday? Yes or no? No score predictions, but do we get this win Sunday? Saturday, excuse me, yes.
As much as I'm not even kidding when I say this, I fear Jeff Saturday playing on Saturday for the first time as an NFL coach. I'm not trying to be sarcastic when I say that. For the love of God, we better win. I think we win. The Colts are not good. They lose that. Oh boy, it's getting bad. We beat the Colts.
Kyla, we beat the Colts.
Even though I said that Matt Ryan's going to throw for 1 billion yards, I want to be joking when I say that. And we're at home. Colts, like Mike said, they're not good. We better win, and I think we will.
I think we'll just leave it at that. That was so much fun, and frankly, we could have gone for another hour, but the bosses say 1 hour. Well, the bosses said 45 minutes. We're already at 56. So with all that being said, thank you kindly, everybody, for joining us. This is Purple and Gold for Days, a presentation of the Purple Code. I am Justin in Rochester. She is Kyla. He is Mike Castellino. And as always, the tagline of our show is we just want to see the Vikings win the Super Bowl just once before we die. Hopefully one loss in Detroit doesn't completely derail what has been arguably a very unexpectedly pleasant season. Happy holidays to everybody who celebrates. And if you don't, and just enjoy the time off of work if you get such things. Thanks again for listening tonight. You have a great rest of your evening, and Skol Vikes. See you next week.
Skol.